Welcome back to the Rookie and the Vet podcast. Joining me are rookie Dante Furco. I'm your veteran Darren Leeds. We're switching things up a little bit today. We're taking a break again from Illini sports, Illini athletics. We're actually focusing on some high school playoff baseball to start. You spent quite a bit of time with this team, Mahomet-Seymour Bulldogs, and you were just telling me you think they're going to take it all this year, state title?
I think they're a team that can definitely do it. They have all the pieces to do it. Well coached. I've been to many of their games this year. I talked to some of their guys before the season, or right when the season was starting, and state championship was on their mind. And then also looking at that state playoff bracket, they are in a perfect spot to do it. They have the matchups going forward depending on who wins to kind of cruise through a little bit of, this sectional tournament. And then states, it's going to be tough. They have a really tough class at the top once you get to those state finals. But they got a really good team, and they're led by, Blake Walters, Arizona commit. Probably going to get drafted. Question is where.
And I was going to ask you about that. I asked you just kind of based on what I've seen him do in some of your videos. We're going to call him right now the Shohei Ohtani of Central Illinois for this high school club. Talk to me about his pitching to start.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's sitting probably around 95, 96 fastball, maybe 94, give him a little leeway. But, he's hitting 97, 98 as well. So, he's inching near that 100 mark, which is crazy as a 17, 18-year-old. He's really able to pound the zone. He's got a good off speed, but he's just dominant in the mound. We've seen him put up 10 Ks every game. He's just dominating batters, and he's a hitter as well. He dominates from the plate. He's hitting home runs maybe every game, sometimes 2 home runs, and it looks so easy. And that's why I said he's kind of like the Shohei Ohtani, where he can do both at an extremely dominant level. He'll be an all-state player, absolutely no doubt about that. He'll probably win a couple Player of the Year awards. And with him at his peak, or at his highest, Mahomet-Seymour is tough to beat. But the thing is, you can't get him every game.
Right.
And that's the tough part. But if
at least get him on the mound for one game, but then he can play DH for the rest of those games when he's not starting pitcher.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if he plays any field. Every time I've seen him play when he's not pitching, he's just DH'd.
Okay.
And he's DH'd pretty well. He's just dominant on all means. And then you also add in Mateo Casillas, and he's just another great player. I believe he had a no-hitter this year on the mound as well. He's able to send the ball over the fence. They have a really, really good senior group that if they're just hitting on all cylinders, they're going to be a really tough team to beat in this sectional playoffs.
And who are they playing coming this weekend?
So they are waiting on I'm blanking right now. Oh, they're waiting on the winner of Centennial and Lincoln.
Okay.
That game Thursday night, which at the point you're probably listening to this is it would have already happened. But yeah, they're taking on the winner of Centennial and Lincoln, which I think they should be able to cruise right through. Okay. This Centennial team this year isn't the team they've had in the past with Jeff Lindgren and some of those guys where the pitching is just dominant. So Mahomet-Seymour should be able to cruise through that. They just took down Bloomington Central Catholic. Was able to kind of cruise through that one. But they're a good team, and excited to see what happens with them. Hopefully room for the best with them.
All right, so we'll see what happens with Mr. Walters. Do you think he goes right to the draft, or do you think he spends a little time in college?
I don't know. When I was talking to him, they don't really want to talk the draft right now. Understandably so. Their focus is this season, winning a state championship. I don't know. He's got the perfect opportunity at Arizona. If he continues to climb the board, then maybe he ends up in the first 3 rounds or something like that. I'm not sure where he's projected. It's a little tough with high schoolers, and especially when you're not in that first round, things kind of start to scatter a little bit with predictions. But if he's a top 5 round pick, I could see him going pro. But you never know. He's got a great opportunity at Arizona if that's not his choice. So we'll see what happens with him. But he's got a career ahead of him.
Yeah.
If you're hitting close to 100 as a high schooler, and you get with those professional trainers and workout instructors, it could start to climb to that 100 and maybe go over.
All right. All the best of luck to him. All right, moving on. St. Thomas More baseball. Ryan Hendrickson. Talk to me about him.
Ryan Hendrickson, he plays right field usually. He's an all-state track runner, and he specializes in the 800 meter. I think he does a couple other things, but he's going to Creighton. He's a great player for them. I think he bats third for them. You know, he's able to he's not a huge power hitter, but he's able to really just drive it to the outfield, get on base, and St. Thomas More needs that. St. Thomas More isn't a flashy team. They're not this team that's gonna hit the long ball. They're not the team that has that one player that kind of like Walters, where you're like, wow, he's that good. He's going D1 or going to the draft. St. Thomas More has a lot of these players where they're just small ball and they're hitting well, and when they're hitting well, they're winning games. But they took down, I don't know why I'm blanking, Armstrong in the sectional semifinal. They'll go on to play Milford in the sectional championship. But they're a good team. I like them. Very underrated. They had a lot of tough games this year. They played a lot of teams out of their class, out of their kind of range in terms of the usual competition they'd see in the postseason. They kind of scheduled above that, and you kind of want that in the regular season. You want to be battle tested for when you go into the postseason, so then you're kind of playing a little down to your level, and you've experienced the worst in terms of tough competition. They were ready for it against Armstrong, mercied them 10-0. So that game was called in the 6th inning. They're a good team. I like them.
All right. And their catcher, Matt DeLorenzo.
Yep. He's a guy that I love because every time somebody scores, he's off the bench. He's going crazy. He's smiling. He's getting things involved. He bats the lead off. Also a pitcher. He had a no-hitter this year.
Catcher and pitcher?
Catcher and pitcher. I don't know how much he pitches. I'm not sure. I'll be curious to see if he's the guy that goes in the sectional championship, because I'd consider him one of their best arms, at least up there anyway. But he's a great hitter. He's a good pitcher. Like I said, has that no-hitter, and he's just kind of a spark plug for that team.
I mean, yeah, if you're a catcher, you got to have that shotgun of an arm to throw out those guys running, stealing second. So no doubt he can probably bring it a little bit on the mound as well. And
I'll add, what's great is their hosting. Their
home field advantage.
Home field advantage is huge. The crowd at their game against Armstrong in the sectional semifinal, it was packed. Both sides. Armstrong had a lot of fans there. St. Thomas More had even more fans there. So having that on top of it is just great for them. They're very well coached. Mike Alves at the helm of that. He's been able to kind of group these guys together. And like I said, nothing crazy flashy with them, but they're really able to put it together as a team. And we spoke with Coach Mike Alves about this team and their win against Armstrong and, what's to come in the sectional championship against Milford. I mean, where do I begin? So last Wednesday night, you guys took down Armstrong. Talk to me a little bit about that game. I mean, you guys beat them 10-0. Game ended early because of the IHSA mercy rule. How'd you feel you guys played? And then, looking back at that, how much momentum does that give you guys going forward?
I mean, that game was a very stressful game for a 10-0 game. I mean, it was 1-0 after 4, 5. I mean, it was a nail biter. Actually, I think it was 1-0 going into the 5th. They had bases loaded. Had to bring Cooper Hannigan in to pitch. Ryan Henderson makes a diving play out in center field, comes up, shoots the guy at third. Felt a big momentum shift, and then they kind of went 1-2, and I was like, oh, well, here we go. 1-0 going into and then we come out with a 2-out rally that scores 7. And kind of could finally relax, but that was a close game. I mean, Armstrong's a very good team. They play hard. Their pitcher was throwing strikes, and the wind blowing in. You weren't going to score a lot of runs to begin with, and we just happened to find a bunch of barrels in a row.
Yeah. How Matt DeLorenzo leading off for you guys? From what I've seen in some of the games, he's kind of been a spark plug for you guys. He's one of the first guys off the bench, it seems like, to, get things exciting when someone scores a run or makes a big play. How big has he been for you guys this year?
I mean, he's a leader. He was a leader last year, and he couldn't play. He had ACL surgery last year, was out for the whole year, and he was a captain without being able to play. The kid just leads. And I moved him to the leadoff hole, I don't know, 3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
He was batting in the 3. We tried him in the 2. I mean, I was doing so much lineup juggling there for a while because of the injuries. And finally, when everyone came back, I just said, Lorenzo is going to be the 1. I'm going to put Ryan Hendrickson back in the 3, which is what he's hit the last 2 years for me. And we're just going to roll with it. And he's been awesome in the leadoff spot.
Yeah. And then we had talked about a couple weeks back about you guys having a really tough and competitive schedule in the regular season, but we've seen it translate well into this postseason already. How big and important was that for you guys, kind of getting those battle-tested games for these tough playoff matchups?
I mean, playing in the IPC, there's nothing that we see in playoffs that we haven't already seen. Mm-hmm. I mean, we went up against Pontiac's D1 guy going to Indiana. You know, we see just pitcher after pitcher. The lineups are deep in the IPC as far as the hitters go. Our pitchers had to learn how to execute pitches. We got to make plays behind them. All that stuff translates very well in the postseason. And then you put the fact that we played Mahomet, we played Central, we played Centennial. Those are all teams that are going to be fighting. Well, I don't know about Centennial, but like Mahomet and Central are going to be fighting for that regional seed in the regional championship in the 3A. Those guys are good teams, and we can compete with them for a little while, and then they kind of pull away from us. But it teaches us how to compete all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and you're seeing pitchers that are really good night in, night out. We don't get a break. We have to use our whole pitching staff, and that's the other thing when you get into regionals. You know, we're down to using probably 3 or 4 of our pitching staff, but we were going 7-8 deep during the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and that's why I would say, I look today, the last 4 games that we've played, we've outscored our opponents 30-4.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned pitching staff. If you don't mind me asking, do you know who you plan on going in Saturday's matchup against Milford?
Di Lorenzo.
Okay.
I'm not that. There's no hiding that one.
Okay. That's what I figured. What does he bring to the mound? I mean, I believe he threw a no-hitter a few weeks back. He can catch and he can pitch. How versatile is he when it comes to pitching?
He is ace material. I've had multiple coaches tell me that he's the best pitcher they've seen all year. Mm-hmm. He's got plus breaking stuff. He goes. He's our hardest thrower. He does everything on the mound. I mean, when he's in the zone, he is tough to hit. I mean, like you said, he no-hit Unity. He one-hit Mount Pulaski that was batting .389 on the year, scoring 12 runs a game. He holds them to 2 unearned runs and 1 hit. He can be lights out on the mound. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if I'm going to go down with someone, I'm going to go down with him. Cooper Hannigan will be in relief again. Daniel Suits will be in relief again. If we got to go any farther than that, I got 3 or 4 other arms that I feel pretty confident bringing in.
Nice. And I don't know how much, I know you guys, I believe you played them during the year. You followed them up on Wednesday, but what have you seen in Milford and what they bring to the table in the sectional final?
Milford is extremely well coached. They bunt extremely well. We spent a lot of time today working on our bunt defense. They will pressure you nonstop. They have very competitive at bats. They don't try to do too much with the ball. They just try to put the ball in play. Defensively, the shortstop yesterday, I think, was about making every play there was. Mm-hmm. They're just a well-coached team, and they're going to be a fight. We played them a couple weeks ago, beat them 5-2. But there again, it was a very close game, non-stop competitiveness, and we're going to have to come out and compete on Saturday morning.
Well, and then I just finally have to ask as we wrap this up. You responded to my tweet on Twitter in reference to Taylor Swift. Are you a Swiftie?
No, I am not a T-Swizzle fan. I just saw it and I was like, oh, I had to harass you about that. It was just so funny that you posted that, and I was like, yeah, I got to harass you on that one.
No, I appreciate it. I like being called out. So much Taylor Swift stuff on my social media lately.
No, I'm a big pop punk emo guy and a big electronic music guy. So I stay out of the T-Swizzle row.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you joining us, Coach. And good luck to you on Saturday.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Coach. Moving on, Sacred Heart-Griffin, SHG. You say they've been a team that's been overlooked, but they've got potential. Taking on Glenwood team. What do you like about them in the matchup?
I like this Sacred Heart-Griffin team. There's no expectations for them right now. It feels like nobody's really talked about them. Nobody's really given them the credit they deserve, but they are just a great team. I mean, Sacred Heart-Griffin in general, they get the athletes. They're just a lot of great athletes from that school. You see it on the football field, you see it on the basketball court, and we're seeing it on the baseball diamond. They really have good talent, but they're taking on a good Glenwood team. Glenwood might be one of the best teams in all of Illinois. They have a really good pitching from the top to the bottom, where it doesn't matter who they're going in this sectional run, state run, you're going to get a really good pitcher, and compared to other teams, their maybe number 3 pitcher is better than a lot of teams' number 1 pitcher. But then you have Matthew Goldisich. He's not afraid to take the contact. He's a great on-base player. He gets on, whether it's taking a walk or just driving a nice line drive to the outfield. He's someone great. Then you have Xander DeMarco, who has power. Not too big of a guy, but he's tall. He's got that power. Has a really good swing. He's not afraid to send it over the fence. I know earlier in the year he had a great home run against, I believe it was Rochester or Lamphere, I remember. But if they want to win, they need their pitching against Glenwood, because Glenwood is going to stop them defensively with their pitching, like I said. But if Sacred Heart-Griffin's able to come out with their pitching and dominate, it's going to be tough for Glenwood to kind of back themselves up, because that's something big they've been able to really strive on this year, is both hitting and pitching. So if you're stopping one, that's one element of the puzzle they're kind of separating, I guess to say.
They got any good base stealing specialists on this team?
I think they're a quick team. I'm not sure though how much they use their legs on the bases, but they're a team that I think can definitely do so. But what's going to be tough with Glenwood when they take on them is the speed that's coming off the pitches, where you got to have a really good jump to kind of steal the base, and that's something also. I mean, we were talking about Mahomet-Seymour. You aren't stealing on Blake Walters. Okay. So when it comes to Glenwood, there's a similar thing. Is they're very mature in pitching, where it's one, they might pick you off, and then two, if they don't pick you off, they might throw you out.
Got it.
But I mean, like I said, Sacred Heart-Griffin's a good a team to kind of keep an eye out on, and they might have a chance to make a sectional run, a state championship run as well.
All right, so they're Class 3A.
Yep.
Any chance, and I'm not super familiar with all the classes, any chance they can meet with St.Thomas More or Mahomet-Seymour in a duel? So
they wouldn't meet with St.Thomas More, but I believe they could meet with Mahomet-Seymour. I believe they're both in that 3A.
Hypothetical that matchup happens, who do you like in that?
Mahomet-Seymour and Sacred Heart-Griffin?
Yeah.
Mahomet-Seymour.
Really?
But I will say, Mahomet-Seymour versus Glenwood would be an unbelievable matchup.
Why do you say that?
Because it's two dominant teams with Glenwood's ace going against Mahomet-Seymour ace. I believe Glenwood's top guy is committed Division 1.
Okay.
I forget where, but Blake Walters against him would be an unbelievable matchup.
You think just a big pitcher's duel?
Yeah. And I think if you go to that game, you're going to see 25 to 30 MLB scouts in the crowd.
Really?
Which I've seen. I mean, I've been to a lot of Mahomet-Seymour games this year where there's been at least 10 MLB scouts in the crowd.
All right, switching gears, let's talk softball. Tolono Unity seems to be the big topic of discussion on your board here.
Yep.
Why?
Unity's good. They are good. They had 9 losses this season, but some of those losses were tough losses. 2 of their losses came near the end of the year. Maybe they're gassed out. Maybe they just kind of started to take their foot off the pedal, but they're a really good team, very well coached. Then you have Ruby Tar. She's been dominant for them at the plate. She's fearless. In taking a pitcher deep, she hits the long ball, which, I mean, I've seen a lot, honestly, a lot of games I've been to this year with softballs, there's been a lot of people hitting home runs, which, I mean, it's awesome to see, I guess, because, I mean, who doesn't love a home run?
Yeah.
But even with being said, their pitching is great. Lindsay Bates, remember that name? She's a freshman. She's one to come in and get you strikeouts as well as just take you deep into the game. She's had complete game shutouts, and I'm not sure if she'd be that number 1 going forward, but she's definitely one that you can put into tough situations, and she will have the team's back. So Unity's just somebody that I think can really go a long way in the state tournament, and they're taking on St. Anthony, another really good team. But I think Unity kind of has the edge. That's one team I think kind of keep an eye out going forward. A lot of the local teams have been eliminated from the softball tournament already, so they're one with St. Anthony that's still left standing.
Okay. All right. Let's switch gears a little bit. Basketball just wrapped up Western Conference Finals.
Mm-hmm.
Are you surprised that the Nuggets swept the Lakers?
I am. I knew that would be a really close series. I figured that series would go 7 games, but I am definitely shocked that it was a sweep. No discredit to the Nuggets. I've said all year, despite my battle between Embiid and Jokic, I think they're the most well-rounded starting lineup in all of basketball, and I didn't think it was a question because you have Jokic at the center, Aaron Gordon at the power forward, Michael Porter at the small forward position, and Jamal Murray at the point guard position. They have 4 legit all-stars on one team.
Yeah.
And still cap room to build a good bench.
I mean, I was very impressed. I mean, Murray is a great guard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the one game he put up almost 50 points.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely elevated his game. Jokic, I mean, is Jokic.
Of course.
I mean, there was, in that game 4, we had that, they called it a 2 to start, but he was just falling away. And it seemed like he just kind of threw it up.
Mm-hmm.
But that ball went in. They review it because the coach asked for it, and it's a 3 ball. But, I mean, I know they were down going into the half of that game 4 because LeBron was putting up big numbers in the first 2 quarters, almost 40 points. Mm-hmm. And I was definitely expecting it to at least go back to Denver with that series.
Yep.
But I was at the gym that night, and I'm watching the game, and when I was done with my running, done with my workouts, I stayed and just stood there, because there was like 5 minutes left, so I was like, I need to watch the end of this game. Like, I'm not going to go home and miss, like, I want to see what happens. But, I mean, Denver ended up kind of building just a couple-point lead, and it seemed like they kind of held on to it. But, I mean, honestly, I think a lot of that, I think LeBron was just so gassed.
Yeah.
He played every minute of that first half, so never came off the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just dominating, but then he had nothing left in the tank. And so I think his age, 38, is kind of starting to show, like, yes, very talented, freak athlete, but when you're giving it all you got every minute of the first half of that game, I mean, I think he needed to at least just take a little bit of a break. At some point, get some water, get some Gatorade, get something, or just get a breather.
Yeah.
But I think that's ultimately kind of what hurt the Lakers going into the second half of that game, because I think he was 1 for 9 for 3-point shooting in the second half and just literally fell off. I think 7 points for the second half of that game compared to the almost 40 in the first.
Yeah, I mean, I still give kudos to LeBron. I mean, it was crazy he's 38, still doing it. And
I mean, 20 years in the league and still being that dominant force that he has been. But, I don't know, I think Father Time is starting to catch up to him a little bit. Yes, I don't doubt his abilities, like what he can do with the basketball. I mean, dude still looks like he is 28, you know? Just the body, the physicality of him, but I don't know what it is.
What I wonder is, like, I don't think LeBron ever... How do I say this lightly? I think with LeBron, yes, he wants to win a championship. That's the ultimate goal. But I think he also is kind of lost. I don't want to say lost that competitive edge, but I feel like playing at 38, he's just playing to still play with his son. That's been the big thing. He wants the Ken Griffey effect. And that's the big conversation. Will he take next year off to kind of regroup and then go play with his son? That's been a conversation this past week since, you know, they lost the Nuggets. I don't know. I mean, I'm always rooting for LeBron. And what I will say is, no matter how much people on social media want to kind of go after LeBron and the Lakers for getting swept, they exceeded everybody's expectation.
Right.
Everybody had him getting bounced in the first round.
Yeah. Got by Golden State.
Who, I mean,
LeBron's always at least kind of... The Golden State's been his Achilles heel,
of course,
if you will, from going back from when he was with Cleveland, and it seemed to be Cleveland Golden State every year in the finals. But Golden State's not what they used to be as well.
That's a whole nother conversation, too, because I think there's some things that are going to kind of split this offseason, I think, with the Warriors. I think you're going to see a lot of their young players.
I think Draymond's gone. Curry stays. Clay, who knows?
I think Clay stays. I think Jordan Poole's gone. I think he wants a bigger role, as I think he should. I think he'd be a number 2, 20 points per game scorer on a team that's not Curry and Clay.
Sure.
So, I mean, he might go separate ways. But, I mean, kind of back to the Lakers, I mean, they never... After they made some good trades at the deadline, got rid of Westbrook, and they were kind of starting to really gel come playoff time, but I don't think it was that camaraderie, chemistry that the Nuggets clearly had, because they didn't make any big trades at the deadline. And they were able to build that chemistry all year, and you clearly saw it in that Lakers series. And, you know, Jokic was great, but one thing I will say is I think Jamal Murray was the bigger reason they swept the Lakers than Jokic, because there were so many games where the Lakers were, say, up by 5 in the third quarter, and it was Jamal Murray that went on a 12-0 run like by himself. And I think he did that twice, both in Game 4 and maybe Game 3, it could have been, where he took over. Yes, Jokic was probably assisting him on like every play.
Sure.
But Murray was knocking down those shots.
Oh, yeah.
I've always been a big Murray fan. He's good, very underrated. We saw in, I don't know how much you watched the bubble, but with the Nuggets in the bubble, it was like all Jamal Murray.
Right. I did watch that series. Again, that's years ago, so it's hard to think back what's fresh in my mind right now. But I will say in that Game 4, Aaron Gordon really stepped up.
Aaron Gordon, too.
When Jokic was in foul trouble, and I don't know why they didn't go after him a little bit more, but I mean, Aaron Gordon almost, I think, put up close to 30 points in that Game 4 for them. So just the showing that all of them can contribute, can put up these big numbers. And I will say, a lot of the comments on that final play where Gordon had the block and Jamal Murray kind of got his hands on the ball. Everyone's wanting to foul on LeBron. But, I mean, that Game 4, it seemed like the refs really let them play.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely fouls on both sides of the ball. There was a lot of plays where I was wanting a foul called on the Lakers. I mean, they were going after Jokic as well. I mean, I like that physical basketball. I don't like, you know, whistle, free throws. I mean, they're competitors. Let them compete. Let them, you know, not get violent. But, I mean, yeah, your wrist might get slapped here and there, but I don't know. Yeah, it seemed like I liked how they just kind of let them play a little bit and let them get physical.
I think you got to let that play go. I mean, Maybe it was a foul. I did see some replays, but it's something that in the moment, a lot of that contact was on ball.
Right.
Or like that's a jump ball /
There was
block.
also a second left on the clock at that point in time. But yeah, that block from Gordon definitely sealed the deal when he came up on, the backside to kind of assist with that.
Yeah.
But
I'll say I hate to say it because I'm the biggest defender of Embiid and there's the Embiid versus Jokic battle, but I think Jokic and the Nuggets win the finals. I think they're
finals
set
MVP
up
for Jokic.
100%. If it's not Murray, which
Right.
I kind of hope it is Murray, so he gets that attention he kind of deserves. But the Nuggets are just too good.
I mean, they've been building stuff in the Mile High City for quite a while. First franchise appearance in the finals, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it just, regardless of who wins that, I think the Heat are going to take that series. We'll see what happens.
So I got a question for you.
Okay.
And I really thought about this. I've been thinking about it for days, and I'm just back and forth with the Nuggets. They're going to retire Jokic's number at the end of all this and everything. But with that being said, there's another player that wore 15 first. That's a future, no doubt, Hall of Famer. Maybe unanimous. Well, probably not unanimous, but he'll come close. It's Carmelo Anthony.
And
Whose 15 do they retire? You can retire both.
Yeah.
Probably.
And I will say I don't know if call it coincidence or what, but Melo officially retired that night.
I saw that,
where
yeah,
they
yeah.
won that Game 4 sweep. So I thought that was kind of just poetry right there. But that's a great question. Honestly, I think you got to retire both. Even if Melo's jersey gets retired, let's say they retire him next year. I don't doubt that he wouldn't still allow Jokic to wear
Oh, yeah, no.
15. But, yeah, I think you see two 15 jerseys hanging up in Denver at whatever point in time.
I wonder if any numbers have... I'm sure numbers have been double retired, right?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Because, I'm trying to think because I don't think it should, but 23 is retired for the Lakers. Will LeBron's number be retired for the Lakers as time with 23? I feel like there's got to be somebody that's numbers double retired. It's just I saw the debate with Jokic and Carmelo on social media whose number gets retired.
I didn't even think about that until you brought it up, to be honest. I don't know, the double retirement, where like what happens, does he change numbers or something like that, but I don't know, LeBron probably retires his 23 jersey. Number 6, I'm surprised he's allowed to wear it with Bill Russell, and that's supposed to be retired like league-wide. So it's interesting that he's wearing it again. LeBron's kind of gone between 23 and 6 because he wore 6 for a little bit when he was with Miami, and then he went back to 23 when he came over to LA.
It's like him and KD, because KD's been back and forth between 35 and 7. Same with Carmelo. Carmelo went back and forth to 15 and 7 too.
And then didn't he wear 0 with LA?
Yeah, and 00 with Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah. With LeBron, I know he wanted to change it before like the bubble, and nice, and
It's all good.
There's a big thing when you change your numbers. You have to give the league so much notice
Okay.
that they don't blow all this money on jerseys and
Right.
stuff, and that's just happened with the NFL when they allowed the new number rules. But I don't know.
All right.
What are you gonna do?
We will see what happens when the time comes. I don't know, anything else you want to talk about tonight? I feel like this took the energy out right here. But
Yeah, if you're listening on audio, the posters just fell down from the wall.
yeah,
Sad
we'll get
time.
it fixed. We got to revamp the studio. It was kind of, semi just thrown together. We did what we could, but got to put in some more work and get this thing really looking great.
We
got a number of jerseys that you can't
Yeah.
even see on camera. Illini jerseys, Cubs jersey over there for whatever reason.
Tuscola jerseys, Cardinals.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
Something I will add, Terrence Shannon Jr., Coleman Hawkins have about a week left to make their decisions whether coming back to Illinois or not, or going to the NBA draft.
I heard TSJ really showed up in the combine, actually.
Yeah.
Really impressed a lot of
There's
people.
been some reporters saying apparently the vibe is that Terrence Shannon Jr. is going to come back.
Okay.
And Coleman Hawkins is going to go to the NBA. That's what I feel like I've been saying that for a while. That's what I think is going to happen. And then hopefully it comes soon enough where maybe Ray J. Dennis is like, I want to team up with Terrence Shannon Jr. kind of. And then he announces his commitment to Illinois, but that's his decision supposed to be coming soon. But yeah.
Either way, I think Illinois basketball's got a lot to look forward to the coming season, so we'll see how that goes.
All right. That'll do it on Rookie and the Vet podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you stream your podcast, as well as on YouTube. We have those videos on YouTube if you want to see the posters falling down mid-podcast. But yeah, make sure to also check us out on our station run Twitters as well as our own, posting content on there, new promos, you name it. Hopefully have more stuff and interviews on there.
Did you post that baseball clip from last night?
The safer out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Go on Dante's pages. You take a look at this play, and maybe we can finally get some interaction with viewers. You tell us if the runner was safe or out. He's hurdling over the catcher who's got the ball at home plate. I said he was safe. It doesn't look like he got tagged. But I'm curious what maybe some folks at home think. So, yeah, I'm curious.
I will add, I had an IHSA umpire reach out to me
Yeah.
and said it's illegal to jump over a catcher in high
Illegal?
school baseball. Yeah.
All right.
So you can't.
So that's why he was called
But
out
despite that, still
Heck of a play.
was he safe or out?
Yeah.
Despite that,
I think he was safe. So
Yeah,
we'll
it's
see
close.
what the folks at home think.
yeah.
All right.
Well, all right. We'll see you next time here on Rookie in the Bed. Like I said, check us out on all podcast streaming platforms, and we'll see you next time.
All right.